Pop quiz. In the past 2 weeks, how many members of the Laval Rocket have experienced a first for the season? You've got a couple of minutes to come up with an answer. And hey, close that Google tab. Now, I promise we're going to get to the answer to that question in just a few minutes, but boy, the prospects playing for the Laval Rocket, the Habs prospects, and even the veterans, they have struck a really good balance so far early in the season and have had quite a tremendous start to the year. In this video, I'm going to catch you up on how the Laval Rocket have performed over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to review some of the Canadiens prospects that have really stood out during that time, as well as pick one actual standout star, and I'm going to preview what they've got coming up this week. For the Laval Rocket the past couple of weeks, really, it comes down to a lot of Utica Comets, Utica Comets, Utica Comets. They've played the Utica Comets 3 times in a row. Starting last week, they had a home-and-home Friday night and Saturday night against the Utica Comets. Then they came back to Laval this week, and on Wednesday night, played the Utica Comets again. It was almost like a dress rehearsal for a mini playoff series for these two division teams to meet each other so many times in a short period of time. Now, coming into this little mini series against Utica, which happens to be the AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils, the Laval Rocket were riding pretty high. Utica, however, was desperate for a win because going into this series, they still had not yet won a game in their very young season. Spoiler alert, they still haven't won a game. That's right. Laval beat Utica in all 3 contests, and Utica is now the only team in the AHL yet to win a game. They are 0-7 to start the season. It's been a rough go of things for the Comets, but hey, let's focus on Laval and what a tremendous start to the season Pascal Vincent has managed to pull off with this team that's chock full of young talent. But as opposed to last year, and I've said this before, I really think that they've put the right kinds of veterans around these rookies and prospects to strike the right balance this year, and that is bearing fruit so far. In fact, Laval is currently 6-1 on the season, sitting in 2nd place in the North Division and 6th overall in the AHL. That is if you think about a year ago and how dismal the start that Laval had last year is very similar to what Utica is experiencing now. And for 1 year later, they're sitting in 6th in the league. That's quite a turnaround, and fingers crossed, we'll see if that can continue. The only team ahead of them in the North Division are the Toronto Marlies, who have not lost yet in regulation. They are 6-0-1. They've had a shootout loss. So let's talk about the roster just for a moment before we get to the prospects and the answer to my pop quiz question. Logan Mailloux had a very good showing for himself in his call-up to the NHL. Yes, he made some mistakes at times, and that is what young prospects are going to do when they are learning how to play the NHL game. So I wasn't too concerned about the mistakes that we saw Mailloux make because he also had a lot of good things on display as well. He showed how and why he is going to develop into a very solid, dependable NHL defenseman, and he's coming back down to Laval to work on the things that he now knows are maybe the weaknesses in his game. He's going to get a lot of reps. He's going to get a lot of ice time, and he's going to hone those skills so that the next time he gets a call-up, which I have a feeling will be sooner rather than later. I don't know how long he'll actually stay in Laval, but he'll be better prepared for an NHL stint the next time around. Couple of injuries as well. Vincent Arsenault is day-to-day, as well as Laurent Dauphin. The big injury, though, that is quite disappointing is young Philippe Méchard. In his rookie campaign, he had a great start to the year. The third line really have liked the third line that Pascal Vincent has had. It has been Jared Davidson and Philippe Méchard on the wings of Owen Beck, and they have been a very good third line, developing great chemistry together. In fact, in his 5 games played, Philipp Mesar had a goal and 4 assists this early in the season. He has been producing very good start to the season. Unfortunately, not sure exactly what the injury is. It's a lower body injury. He got tangled up with an opponent over the weekend in Utica and kind of went down awkwardly with the player along the boards and left the ice soon after that, not to return. So unfortunately, he's going to be out roughly 8 to 10 weeks. That's a tough blow for Philipp Mesar in his development. It means we likely won't see him until at least the holidays or the new year. And that's a lot of time for him to miss. We wish him a speedy recovery because we want to see him pick right back up where he left off, because things were looking up for Philipp Mesar early in his rookie campaign. So let's talk about Habs prospects playing for Laval in the last couple of weeks. There were lots of compliments to spread around, let me tell you. And there was one particular prospect who stood out just a little more than the others, although honestly, that was a tough task to necessarily pick one because so many prospects have been performing exceptionally well under Pascal Vincent. Owen Beck has had a very strong couple of weeks. Even after losing Philipp Mesar, he had a beautiful setup for a Jared Davidson goal on Wednesday night. He is looking like he belongs. He is looking strong. A lot of times he is the best player on the ice for Laval. Love to see what Owen Beck has got going so far early in the season. And he actually had his first pro goal within the last couple of weeks. Luke Tuck's been right in there as well. He's been playing on the 4th line, but he has shown some real signs of that mature game that we've talked about coming from the NCAA. And he notched his first pro goal in the last couple of weeks as well. In fact, in the same game, he had his first 2 pro goals in the AHL. Why have just one when you can have 2? Florian Jacki had a really big celebration when he found the back of the net for his first pro goal. And he's even followed that up with a second goal on Wednesday night. It was an empty netter, so maybe not as thrilling to watch, but important nonetheless, because had he not scored that empty net goal, Utica actually came back with 4 seconds left to pot a second goal, which, had it not been for Florian Jacki's empty netter, would have tied the game with 4 seconds left and likely would have forced overtime, giving Utica their first point of the season. So empty net goals might not be exciting, but sometimes they're very important. And you know what? In that same game on Wednesday night, Riley Kidney finally got his first goal of the season. Riley Kidney, unfortunately, I feel like every time I turn around, Riley Kidney's in the penalty box. He, by no means, is leading the team in penalty minutes or anything like that, but he does find himself in the penalty box probably a little more often than he would like to, but he redeemed himself well on Wednesday night, scoring his first goal of the season. My standout star actually this week, though, for prospects has to be Joshua Waugh. There were a lot of Habs fans who really wanted or expected Joshua Waugh to earn a place on the NHL roster out of training camp. I wasn't necessarily as confident that that would happen, watching him all through last year in the AHL and just seeing what he was doing during rookie camp and training camp. So it didn't come as a great surprise to see him come back down to Laval, particularly given Oliver Kapanen and Emil Heinemann's strong play in camp, and they certainly have earned the positions that they currently have with the Montreal Canadiens. But that doesn't mean that Joshua Waugh came back down to Laval and hung his head in shame. He is sitting on the top line with Alex Barre-Boulet now, who has been returned to Laval, centered by Brandon Gignac. And they've made a very strong top line. Alex Barre-Boulet, I've said before here on the channel, while I didn't, he's a good occasional call-up option at the NHL level, but he excels at the AHL level. I mean, he is a real threat offensively at the AHL level. Gignac has been a fan favorite for a long time. He's a good playmaker. And those two, with a young Joshua Waugh who has a really dynamic game, they've kind of created a pretty formidable top line, and Joshua Waugh is taking full advantage. What I love even more is Joshua Waugh is standing out on the power play. He is currently in a 7-way tie for first place in the AHL for power play goals. He's got 3 power play goals already on the season. So through 7 games, he's got 4 goals and 2 assists, 3 of those 4 goals coming on the man advantage. He leads the team in goals and in shots on goal. He is, night after night, putting more pucks at the net than any of his other teammates. He's got 29 shots on goal so far for the season, and he's also second on the team in points. So Joshua Waugh is doing all the right things in his return to Laval to continue to grow his game, hopefully learning some good lessons. He's certainly helping them stay in the win column on most nights, and I've been impressed with Joshua Waugh's performance so far this season. Oh, and I also want to throw an honorable mention in, and I say this is an honorable mention because this player isn't a prospect per se, but something notable, and that is Connor Hughes, who is the backup goaltender to Jakub Dobeš. Side note, didn't even get to Jakub Dobeš today, but holy man, he is doing a tremendous job. If Sam Montembeault and Caden Primo don't watch their backs, Jakub Dobeš is going to get a call up to get a look at his NHL play, because we know how strong he was in preseason during NHL training camp. And with how shaky goaltending has been for the Habs so far, we might see Jakub Dobeš get a look for a game or two. You never know. But Connor Hughes is the tandem with Jakub Dobeš in the crease, and Connor Hughes got his first blank sheet, first AHL shutout in the last couple of weeks, and so stick tap to him as well. So have you been keeping track? The answer to the pop quiz, how many members of the Laval Rocket have experienced a first in the season over the last couple of weeks? Well, the answer is 5. Owen Beck with his first pro goal, Luke Tuck with his first pro goal, Florian Jacki with his first pro goal, Riley Kidney with his first goal of the season, and Connor Hughes with his first AHL shutout. That's a pretty good couple of weeks, if you ask me. So what does Laval have on tap next? Can they keep this win streak going? Well, they might be able to, because they've got 2 more home games this weekend, Friday night at 7 o'clock, Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, against the team that they kicked off the season playing in Rhode Island, and that is the Providence Bruins, the AHL affiliate of the Boston Bruins. Laval did win that first game of the year when they were playing in Providence. We'll see what the Bruins have for them when they make a 2-game visit to Laval this weekend. Like I say, Pascal Vincent, it's very early in his first season as the head coach for the Laval Rocket, but so far so good. He's got a lot of talent on the team. They seem to have great chemistry together. Things seem to be clicking for the forwards, for the defense, and in the crease. All good things, and we want to see that keep going. Marty St. Louis for the Canadiens, however, is starting to experience a little bit of his first tastes of real criticism and doubters in this young Habs season. You know, there's that hybrid defense system that he seems to be employing that I'm not sure everyone's on the same page about. There's a little bit of doubt that's starting to creep in, and St. Louis, of course, was asked about it, and he had some pretty strong reactions to it. In fact, Rick Stevens and I talked about this in depth and even listened to a lot of clips analyzing things that Marty St. Louis had to say in the last week. And we did all of that on the latest episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast. If you'd like to hear how Marty St. Louis sounded off about his critics and how Rick and I are kind of reading the whole situation, well then, you want to check out this video right here, and I'll see you again next time.